Dave, it's crazy, but summer's almost over.
5 days of break left. Our administrators are already back this week, and our teachers head back on.
Right. It doesn't even really seem like we have had much of a summer.
It's quick. It's
Yeah.
quick. It's one of those things. I think like a kid, right? When you're little, summer lasts forever, and the older you get, or the more seasoned you get, the faster the days seem to go.
I know. It's crazy. I know. Well, I think I'm a lot more seasoned than you, and my days are flying by. It's crazy. Seems like it seems like Christmas is always just around the corner. Costco's already got their Christmas stuff out, and here we go, right? So,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, and my new cologne of this summer is Deep Woods Off. It's a beautiful smell. We're getting used to
Yeah,
that smell, but that's the
yeah.
way summer goes. You just never know, right? But
No, absolutely.
well, thanks for taking time to talk to me. We have certainly a few things to talk about today, and there's a lot of, I guess, miscommunication, misconceptions floating around as to what is actually transpiring in regards to the potential job action that the teachers may be taking. I'm just wondering if you can just walk us through what's going on. Is What does the fall potentially look like for the students and the teachers if we don't come to an agreement with the Alberta government?
Well, right now, as of August 31st, teachers will have been without a contract for a year. So our contract expired in August of last year with the government of Alberta. There's two parts to our collective agreement. One is provincial or centrally bargained, and then the other piece is locally bargained. Right now, so last year there was a lot of information in the news. Teachers had negotiated, and the employer bargaining agent and our teacher bargaining agents had gone into mediation. The mediator came out with a recommendation. The government included some extra dollars on top of that, and teachers out of principle and out of what is happening in our classrooms rejected it, overwhelmingly rejected it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the teachers in June took a strike vote, and it was 94% that they authorized to strike. Teachers have 120 days to activate that that right, and so that's where we sit. Last week, the school boards authorized their group to lock teachers out as well, and it's nothing. It's a step, but we've been. The analogy is two hands on the wheel. So we take our authorization to strike vote, the boards take their authorization to lock out. So it's not an unusual step in the process. It's just making sure that everybody has all of the tools available to them.
Okay.
To get to your question, we have 4 more days of bargaining. So when the teachers go back to school on Monday, our teacher bargainers at the provincial level and the teacher employer bargaining agents are sitting down for more negotiations. So they've got 4 days scheduled for next week, and after I'm thinking after Monday we'll know a little bit more as to what September is going to look like.
Sure. Okay. And just for the record, because we're going to release this, no doubt, a little bit earlier, just because the dates are very applicable. Today is August the 18th.
It
So
is.
we are certainly looking at, some news coming out in the very near future. Now it's my hope that this podcast doesn't even get released, that you guys figure out. But what do you think the chances of that are, getting things figured out in the next 4 days?
So nothing will happen over the next 4 days, unless by some miracle the government's been sitting on something and bring an offer to teachers. But I don't see that happening without the bargaining process, because they've got those 4 days set for next week. We'll know more after after
Right.
next week.
Right. I know my kids at home. I have 3 kids at home. They're hoping you guys don't figure it out. All of us parents are hoping you guys get this figured out soon. Okay.
To be fair, the teachers want it figured out too.
For sure.
We don't want to be at home. We don't want to be demonstrating. The vast majority of teachers do not want job action. I won't say all of them, because there's always a small percent, right, that are
Right.
ready to go. But teachers want to be with the students, right? And that's, I think, the number one piece that parents need to hold or take to heart, is that we want to be in the classroom, right? We don't want job action looming in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Time and time, survey after survey, it's classroom complexity and class sizes that are number one on teacher ask list. Salary obviously is second, and then violence and aggression in the classroom has been third. So
Okay. So there's 3 items. Can we narrow in on those 3 items?
Absolutely.
Let's go back to the first one. The first one is, what is the first one again? Sorry.
Class size. Oh, no worries. Classroom size and classroom complexity. Like you said, you having children in the system. I have one that has exited the public system and one that's in grade 11.
Okay.
So we know firsthand. We've seen class sizes growing. We've seen supports being removed from the classroom. We've seen a reduction in EAs. We've seen reductions in staff.
Mm-hmm.
And our school division, I believe that our Foothills trustees and our Foothills superintendency are doing their level best to keep our system running as it can. Alberta's the lowest funded jurisdiction in the country.
Now, when you say lowest funded, is that per student?
That is per student. Yeah.
And that's right across Canada.
Yep. Yeah. So Canadian average is about $13,300 per student, and Alberta is funding their students at a rate of $11,600.
Okay. Yeah. So that's okay. And so so that's number 1: class size and complexity. What's number 2?
Number 2 is salary, right? I mean, this is how I pay my mortgage. This is how I send my kids to school and help them with their extracurricular and all the other pieces, right? This is the profession I chose. So, I'm aware of that, but we need to make sure that we're being compensated for the job that we're doing. And it has certainly gotten more complex. You look at the levels of reporting, you look at the expectations in the teaching profession as a whole. And we've heard time and time again, right? You need to make sure that you have competitive compensation to be able to retain the best and the brightest. And I honestly believe that that's what we have in this province. But we're losing teachers at a ridiculous rate. We know that 50% of teaching professionals leave within the first 5 years.
Are you serious?
So, yeah. And then that number increases. I'm going to have to fact check myself on there. That it increases to 80% within the first 2 years in some cases. But I'd say don't quote me on that. But
no, but still, like, they're close. Those numbers are certainly close. Yeah. That's crazy. That's
the attrition is
crazy.
Nuts. Yeah. And it's because people get into it, and as much as there is a knowledge transfer or a leading piece within education, right? It's also soul work. It's also relationship. And when you put 42 kids in a classroom and you try and build relationship with each and every one of those students, right? You see teacher burnout at an unprecedented rate right now.
Now, when you say 42, is that the average classroom size, or is that? So
I struggle with classroom averages. Alberta government got rid of classroom size tracking, but average classrooms are problematic because you can take a small school For example, in our Foothills school division, right, Longview is one of our smaller schools. And then if that gets averaged out with, say, a class at Morris Gibson that's got 32, right, you can see how that kind of skews the numbers. But instead of schools being able to retain staff and able to keep those classroom sizes down, the funds aren't there to retain staff. So principals are left with that choice as to who they hire, and essentially these are the funds that you have, and they have discretion on how to spend those. And sometimes not sometimes, they have really difficult jobs and really hard choices to make. And if you're given X number of teachers and X number of EAs, you have to make your school work within those parameters. And the end of the day, the government they create the funding manual. They tell school boards how many dollars they have, and that's what the schools have to work with. So, yeah.
Dave, what's number 3?
Number 3 is aggression and violence in the classrooms. And I think this is just I'm losing the word here. It's because there's not the support in classrooms, because there is not adequate funding, adequate EAs, large class sizes, you're getting more students that are being disruptive, that are behaving negatively in that space, and putting not only our teachers but our EAs in harm's way. And again, our school division does their level best to try and avoid those incidences. But again, speaking provincially, this isn't just a Foothills issue. This goes all across our province.
Right. Okay. So when we're talking about strike action or job action, sorry, is this for all of Alberta?
Yes.
Okay. So this
Yes.
includes the public and the Catholic system as well.
Yeah, so publicly funded education in Alberta consists of our big 3. So we've got our public boards, which are going to be our Foothills and Rocky View, those sorts of places. We've got our Catholic schools, which remain public. We're one of the few provinces where public education or Catholic education is publicly funded. And then we have our Francophone schools. So those 3 groups are all fully publicly funded. Now, I say fully because the government also funds what they have formerly known as private schools. They have rebranded them independent schools. So independent schools are funded at 70% of the public grant. So public citizens are paying for private schools.
So will the private schools be going on strike, or do they have a different deal with their teachers than Catholic and public?
So as far as I understand it, private schools will continue to operate. They don't fall within that collective bargaining, that central collective bargaining structure like we do.
Right. So right now, there's a chance that our kids might not even be going back to school in the fall. Or, I guess maybe those are some of the logistics that you guys aren't necessarily, maybe you don't even know, or maybe you're not even willing to, or able to share with what your guys' strategies. I guess maybe over the next week or so, that will come a little bit more clear as to what you guys are looking at doing.
So we just came off of the ATA holds a number of education/information events over the calendar year, and they just completed up their 2025 summer conference. So it's where kind of your major groups get together. So local presidents all came together, and then there were sessions for our communications officers, our bargaining teams, our DARE chairs. Yeah, these groups came together, and there was a lot of conversation about what September might look like. But they're not. The discussions right now are not in. How do I phrase this properly? We're not planning for 14 different scenarios, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, everybody is really focused on what next week is going to look like. We've been prepping our own local, right? Just to ensure members, have their financial houses in order, right? Not because we're planning on job action, just because we want to make sure that if something occurs, or if job action needs to be taken, that they're in a position to do so. All of the discussions that happened last week were really around how do we get our message out? How do teachers let their friends, let their neighbors, let the public know we're in this position because we've been dealing with an education system that continues to lag behind the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to solve it is to put more dollars into supports in classrooms, more supports via EA, via resources. We just had a new junior high curriculum drop. And I'm sure that you've been hearing about the new elementary curriculum for the past few years. There were no resources released with those curriculums. So the government released a curriculum, and then there were little to no resources. Everything that you're seeing happening in your children's classroom is teacher created.
So when you talk about resources, like as a non-teacher, like what do you mean? Like they gave you the curriculum, but there was no like learning guides, study guides, things to help the teachers find ways to teach? Like what kind of things are you talking about?
Yeah, essentially. So one of the best examples, and this is the one that I have experience with, is when they brought in the new social studies curriculum 15 years ago. I'm dating myself now. When they brought in that new curriculum, it was a completely different style of learning, right? It was that inquiry based, and it was one curriculum, right? It wasn't a complete overhaul of the system. It was one curriculum, and it was PC government at the time. They put out to tender, even before the curriculum was completed, to two different publishers, so that Alberta teachers had a choice of two different resources, things that include Blackline Masters, online resources, textbooks, just all those pieces that allow teachers to do their best teaching, right? And those pieces were in place before the curriculum was released to be used, right? We were told that we were going to see the new junior high curriculum before the end of last year, and we got it in May.
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah.
you want your teachers to be at their best, to be able to process and make sure that your students are doing excellent things in the classroom.
Yeah.
What you're really saying is we're expecting you to work for the summer to make sure that you're ready to go in September.
Right.
Now, to be fair, the government has put a pause on the new junior high curriculum, right? They're going to pilot it next year, which is a good thing, right? And then implementation will be in 26, 27.
For sure. So if we could circle back a little bit, and I'm going to ask, I guess my phrase I'm starting to use quite a bit. I'm going to push your buttons a little bit.
All good.
So, because I believe that the teachers are getting the word out. I'm starting to see a lot on social media, and was towards the end of the school year, different teachers posting different things, helping the average parent. I think it's more directed to parents and maybe people kids have already gone through the system, helping them understand. Because you guys asked for a 12% increase over 4 years. And basically, is the 12% not, because you guys rejected that, was that not keeping up with inflation? Like, do you guys know where we're at percentage wise as to where the inflation rate is?
So we're lagging behind inflation. The number that I've heard is 34% is what needs to bring it is what it would take to bring teachers back in line with inflation. So it's a significant number. But not dissimilar. I was listening to the CBC this morning to what the flight attendants were looking for,
Yes.
and I know they've got their piece. Nurses came out with 15% in their first year, and then I think their total agreement ends up being about 20% for their members, right? The biggest piece, and I can't stress this enough, that did the mediator's recommendation, in my opinion, was the classroom complexity piece. The government offered $405 million to do some studies over 3 years to find out where the pinch points were in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Carlin, I will tell you, teachers know where the challenges are. They know what they're facing. They know where the volatile students are. They understand that you have large class sizes. You can't get to everyone. They didn't need more committees to discuss what's going on in the classrooms. Teachers know. School divisions know. We know that Minister Nicolaides struck a panel and got 25 teachers or 25 school, what they call frontline workers, together to discuss complexity in the classroom. And I think we'll hear the outcomes of that hopefully in September. But teachers are fighting for classroom conditions. They're fighting for students' education and the best possible education, right? We talk about the Alberta Advantage. The Alberta Advantage is not being the least funded system in the country.
Fair enough. Absolutely. No, and when it does come to wages, because David, I see it on, and I'm going to, let me talk myself out of this one. Okay.
Sure.
Because you see it on Facebook, you hear conversations, you hear teachers basically say, well, it's not about the money. The average person, you could insert an eye roll there, right? And say, well, yeah, as if it's not about the money. Yeah, okay, well, we wouldn't be here. However, I do believe, look at the stats of teachers leaving the profession. Again, I don't think they're leaving the profession just because they're not being compensated enough. Not that quickly. They know darn well why they're what they're going to be getting paid. So within the first year, I'm assuming, David, that there's a disillusionment in regards to what is transpiring in the classroom. They're coming in, they really have no idea, and once they get in, they're like, oh my goodness, this is not what I signed up for. In order, let's look at the police officers there for a little bit. Going through those difficult years of bad press and all those things throughout the years. No doubt, the police officers had a very difficult time having people sign up to become police officers because of the bad press. Well, I think the teachers are now getting that because of the teachers are not walking billboards anymore for people to become teachers. The teachers that I know, the hardworking teachers that are out there, are not out there saying, oh my gosh, you need to become a teacher. It's great. It's so satisfying. The teacher friends that we know are exhausted. They're not excited. And it seemed like it started, and correct me if I'm wrong, kind of right around those COVID days a little bit, where it really seemed to go downhill. Not to say that it wasn't around there, but it seemed like after those days, it seems like the teachers have been on a slippery slope and they have not been able to recover. Knowing many different teacher friends that are on work leaves, because of the challenges that they're facing in the classroom. So when we go back to people sitting there saying, eye roll. Yeah, okay, you guys are asking for money, and yeah, it's not about the money. I do believe that it's not about the money. I do believe that it is about all the other things, but in order to get people back into the profession, in order to um, get things going positively in regards to our education system, again, we need people that are confident with what they're doing, making them feel like they're valued, because I'm sure that teachers are feeling right now that they're not valued.
Well, when you look at all the different attacks on what teachers perceive as attacks in the education system, right? And by government, education should be nonpartisan, right? Education as a function of society brings everybody up, right? It helps with equity. But when you look at the rollout or the deluge of new curriculums that are right now, elementary teachers are burdening that, right? It's coming to junior high. At some point, the wave's gonna hit high school teachers. You look at the removal of the control of our pension, right? To be fair, the ATA they took the government to court and they won in court, so we maintain control over our pension, right? But again, those are things that take away from what's happening in the classroom, right? You look at the current book banning, for lack of a better term, right? That focusing that schools are just riddled with inappropriate reading materials. A great comment that I heard was, we used to have teacher librarians, right? The government used to provide enough funding to have librarians in school. We don't have those anymore. We have our learning commons facilitators, right? Which they do excellent work. But all these pieces add to the teacher's workload and all these worries about, well, what's my classroom going to look like, right? School boards have to come up or have to develop a policy to ensure that the books that they are including in their classrooms are appropriate. And what strikes me with that is, you're really telling me that teachers are actively trying to bring inappropriate books into their classrooms. I find that a little ridiculous. Teachers are in their classrooms. When I taught in elementary, people would be giving away books. I'd have a look through them, be like, yeah, no, this works for my kids. And you curate those book lists, those libraries over years, and to make it seem like every school is riddled with inappropriate material for students, I think is appalling.
Right.
But that adds to that compassion fatigue. And so, like, to your point, right, teachers graduate, right? They've put 4, sometimes 6 years of post-secondary education. They come into classrooms, and it's not just about the teaching. It's everything else, right? And we expect the best for our kids. We really do. We put a lot of, and again, as a parent myself, right? I want my kids to have the best teachers. I want my kids to, if they've got an issue, I'm encouraging to reach out and talk to their teachers, right?
Yeah, no, I believe there is a lot of misconceptions as to what is going on. But if years ago, I used to work with youth, and then kind of moved away from that. Just the things that our children and youth are dealing with, the things, how everything's in your face, social media, they can't get away. They really can't get away from, if a kid's being, for example, if a kid's being bullied at school, they can't get away from that anymore, because then it just continues online when they go to school. The attention spans, no doubt, are so much shorter these days because of, again, social media, video games, TV, all those different things, increasingly shorter. The other thing that, I know it could be a sensitive matter to talk about as well, is just the teachers dealing with new Canadians in their classrooms, people that have newly arrived, and how that interaction, then not only that, but you then also have the teachers dealing with special needs students right in the classrooms that are integrated right into the classroom. And I honestly, with all those things, even that I just listed right there, I don't know how you deal with a classroom of 20, let alone up to 42.
Again, we have the best teachers in the country, and our teachers go to the wall. They really do, and they do everything within their power. But one teacher is only one teacher. And to your point, all those pieces that you listed, all those concerns, all those pressures, can be mediated with additional supports, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can be alleviated by having more professionals in the building, right? And it's not going to be a light switch, right? That's the other piece. An infusion of dollars into the system is going to be a start. I am hoping we don't go down the road that British Columbia did, right? Teachers in the BCTF got complexity in their contract, and then they fought the BC government for a decade before the Supreme Court said, no, you can't. The BC government could not strip those classroom complexity pieces out of the collective agreement. That was about a decade ago, right? Huge hiring flood into BC to meet class sizes to connect to those complexity pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alberta teachers know, we know where the needs are. Our superintendents, our trustees know where the needs are, but they're constantly having to go to the government cap in hand, saying these are the minimum resources we need just to make things work, and we're still behind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate it. We have a lot of English language learners coming in. Our schools within Foothills deal with that. But again, have dedicated language professionals, have dedicated teachers that are teaching those programs. But right now we don't have the finances to do that.
Right. What does the win look like for you guys? What does, because you will go to, if the two sides come to an agreement, you go back to a vote. What, and I'm not talking numbers or whatever, but what does the win look like for you guys, where the teachers go back to school? And obviously it's not a magic wand and everything's going to be made better as soon as you vote yes and go back to school. But what does that look like for you guys?
Well, really meaningful impact in the classroom, right? If a deal is struck next week, and we can, again, those dollars are going to flow, our division will hire. Like that's the number one piece, right? If they're given that capacity to be able to bring on teachers into the system,
Mm-hmm.
it's immediately going to alleviate issues of class sizes. If we're able to bring in more professionals, even within the board office, to be able to help support schools, that's going to be a win as well. Having the capacity for schools to bring in additional resources, and when I say resources, a lot of that are EAs and teachers, right? Being able to build the best possible learning environment for students. The line that I've been hearing a lot is a teacher's working conditions is your child's learning conditions, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so to make that a meaningful impact would be more teachers in classrooms.
Absolutely. Well, David, I wish you the best of luck. Obviously, having 3 children in the system, and they don't know. As I said before, they're hoping that you guys can't figure it out, and we're hoping you guys figure it out quick here. They want summer to go on a little bit longer, but I know that that's not what anybody truly wants. But I do thank you for your time. I thank you for your service to our children. I, for all the teachers out there, it is such a job of sacrifice, and it's draining. My gosh, I don't know. Some of the classrooms I would go into for my students, and I'd help volunteer and all that stuff. Man, 10 minutes, I'm ready to snap. And it just is unbelievable what the teachers put up with and how well they deal with it. But it certainly does take a certain personality to deal with that. So we do appreciate your service on the ATA, and we look forward to maybe deleting this podcast. Maybe it doesn't even launch. Maybe you guys get her figured out, which would be awesome.
Well, and if it does go forward and parents want to support their schools and support their teachers and their division, stoptheexcuses.ca. They can go in there. They can sign up for the newsletter. They can send a letter to their MLA. Goes a long way. Those emails and those letters of support go a long way to letting our MLAs know that Albertans want real action on schools in our province, and they want the best possible education for their kids.
Yeah, right on. David, thank you.
Thanks for the invite, Carlin.